Hello, folks. Welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. This is your host, Will Carey. I appreciate you tuning in. I hope you're doing well. I apologize for my absence the last 2 weeks. I was hit by a sort of prolonged Lord of the Rings extended edition kind of sickness that I had not felt in recent memory. It started, and it was not COVID, but it started as like a flu that turned into a cold that continued and evolved into a persistent sneezing and coughing and continuous, like, just perpetual grossness that I am now just starting to emerge out of. It was hectic, but great for my goal of trying to lose some weight before I have to fly on an airplane again next. Because I'll be doing some traveling in the next couple of weeks, and I'm hoping to have a little bit easier time fitting into the airplane seat, because I had an experience, folks, a few years ago where I had to request a seatbelt extender, and that was at my heaviest, and obviously that really upset me that I was at that point. And I don't care what weight you are. I don't care how you look. I'm not trying to body shame or fat shame whatsoever, but it was a personal moment of me where I was like, I don't like this, and so I need to change. And so that's what I've been trying to do over the last couple of years, slowly but steadily. And coming out of this sickness, I've been sitting on this really, really exciting episode of this podcast that I'm very much looking forward to sharing with you guys. But to give you another sense of what's been going on, this past weekend was the People's Improv Theater's 10th annual Sketchfest festival, and I was fortunate enough to not only get to tech my brilliant and funny friends in Backdoor Barbecue, but I also got to tech their co-stars on the 5:30 bill this past Saturday in Beverly. A really great assortment of comedic actors. Much love to Gary for asking me to be a part of the show since we were working together with Backdoor Barbecue. It was a really great time. Look forward to spending some more time on stage with those dudes in the very near future. All of those people, all just a really overall great experience. And also teched Love is Live recently at the Pit, one of my other favorite shows, and a great group of people that I am very fortunate to get to work with on a regular basis. So shout out to Beverly, shout out to Backdoor Barbecue, shout out to Love is Live, and shout out to my band Skiplag. We played a show at Connolly's in near Times Square last Friday. And what I'm most excited about, and this is also coming into our guest today, because Skiplag will be back at the Shillelagh Tavern in Astoria, Queens on November 2nd at 8 o'clock. We're going to be doing another Knuckle Down Records show, and we're going to be playing that show with my guest on the show today. My guest on the show today is Lena McFrison. Lena is the lead singer and guitarist of the Italian punk rock band, or as they call themselves, turbo rock and roll band, The Loyal Cheaters. And The Loyal Cheaters are coming over from Italy, doing a North American tour, and their New York City stop is going to be at November 2nd with Skiplag and Hopeless Otis at the Shillelagh Tavern on November 2nd. But they're going to be kicking off their U.S. tour on October 18th at Star Bar in Atlanta, culminating in their appearance at the Fest in Gainesville, Florida on October 27th. So, Florida listeners, if you're going to Fest, check out the Loyal Cheaters. They are a kick-ass rock and roll band, and Lena is a really cool person who I was very fortunate to get a chance to talk to before we are going to play this show together, and I am really looking forward to having this chat with them. Their tour is actually in progress right now. So when you listen to this, they're going to be in Vero Beach, Florida. So make sure that you, if you are listening to this, that you are excited for their Florida shows, and that if you're at Fest on October 27th, make sure you check them out. And this was really awesome conversation. I really got to, and I love getting to share sort of like punk rock history and sort of our sort of shared window into the scene with folks from outside of the US, because I'm very internationally minded. I love connecting with people through music, and this style and this genre is something that I have loved for a long time. And so I love talking to new people about it. So folks, thank you again so much for being here. Check out the Loyal Cheaters at Fest in Gainesville, Florida on October 27th. Check out their music everywhere you get your music. And let's check out, and then let's talk to Lena McPherson. This is the first time I've done a podcast with someone in a band before we play the actual show together. So I'm very excited to kind of have this sort of opportunity to chat a little bit before the big US tour starts.
Yeah, we are looking forward. Just last minute organization, and yeah, we're ready.
Fantastic. I'm learning like so much about like the logistics and in the minutia of like do-it-yourself touring, especially at this kind of like DIY punk rock level. And I've talked to lots of bands who like come from Canada to tour the US, and the kind of nightmare that it can be in terms of visas, in terms of merch. I'm curious, coming from Italy, what are some, are you encountering like, are you encountering things that you didn't expect in terms of planning the tour?
That's a really good question. So I think the most difficult part was to find like the booking and the people that would trust us to have a show, because we don't have many connection in there, being the first time. So it all started with our invitation for the fest in Florida. And from there, then we got some contacts from like the organizer, and then we were like asking people that maybe were touring in Europe from the US, like if they had any connection for us to keep in, like to get some contacts. And then it took quite some months, to then find all the gigs and things. For what regards the merchandise, it was a bit of like we were a bit unsure on how to do it, because we were scared that then there might be troubles, with the taxes and stuff when like shipping from Italy. So we decided to have everything already in the US, and we have one US label. It's called WD Records from Cleveland, Ohio. And they still had some of our first record on vinyl. So we asked them if they could ship them for us to the first location, and for t-shirts we're gonna have them print them out, and they will be also ready for the first show. So we hope everything will be there on like when we arrive.
Right.
Vinyls are there like already, like LPs, and visa and stuff is a much more complicated thing, because in principle you should have a kind of musician visa, but that is like for big touring bands, if you know what I mean. Like it's super expensive, right. And so for us it was a difficult to get as well. So we are traveling with normal visa. And yeah, let's see if it will work out.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I really think that we need somebody who used to play in a band to work for customs and immigration, to kind of because I feel like that could help the cultural exchange amidst the world happen so much easier, because it is yeah, like you said, like big bands can do this a lot easier once you have sway. But I just wish there was some kind of understanding for having to like build up to that point. I feel like I remember reading that Edinburgh in Scotland has kind of like, because people come from all over the world to go do the Fringe Festival every August when that happens, like comedians, theater performers, and such. And they make it really easy. They make it really easy for folks to just come in, do the festival, and then and leave. So I empathize with your with your plight. But I will say the folks you're working with for the New York show are amazing. Like, I have nothing but great things to say about the Knuckle Down Records guys and Brandon and Larry. I'm sure you've talked to one of them.
Okay, no, that's good to hear. We are looking forward that New York is gonna be the very last gig, so it's gonna be a big party also for us, because we know we don't have another show after that one, so we can really
Mm-hmm.
have a party night.
Oh, totally. Like last night of the tour, just go all out, make it like you survived. So it's time to really celebrate. Now it's a really cool kind of spot too. The place where we're going to be doing the show is this really cool bar, not too far from where I live actually, that has really built up this crew of people in the neighborhood who love going to these do it yourself punk rock shows that Knuckle Down put on. We did one. My band did one a couple months ago with some bands touring from Iowa, and we had a blast. It was a very fun night.
Okay, great. No, we are looking forward. Really, it's gonna be fun. And I also saw that that night the time will change, so we're gonna have 1 hour more because the clock will be like moved 1 hour before on that night specifically. So it means that while we are here there, it's gonna be 1 hour more for
Yes,
partying.
exactly. Yeah, we fall back, so you get it. There's a little bit of extra time due to daylight savings. And and being like the one of the, like the New York City bands who plays with a lot of folks, I'm tempted to always get into like pizza conversations with touring bands, but I feel like this is one that I would lose. Because you're from Italy.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm a special Italian because I really like Domino's pizza. So,
Well, luckily you have a lot of opportunities to get like a proper New York slice when you're in town. What did you grow up in Italy?
yeah, yeah, indeed. I was born and raised in Italy, and then I moved to Germany 5 years
Okay.
ago. So now I'm located in Germany, and so yeah, we meet in Italy then to do rehearsal and shows.
Gotcha. Where in Germany?
Frankfurt. It's, I mean, it's just 1 hour flight at the end. So compared to US, how big is
Mm-hmm.
US and how you're used to traveling so much like between cities, it's not that much. Europe is much smaller in comparison. So
I know. I'm so envious of folks who grew up in Europe because you can just like decide, oh, I think I'll pop over to Spain for a weekend, and it's like a 1 hour flight. Whereas if I want to take a 1 hour flight anywhere, I can end up in Boston, or maybe I can get to North Carolina. My Chicago. If I want to go somewhere nice like Chicago, that's 2 hours. So that's like a day at least. So
indeed,
I
indeed.
just I really I there's a part of me that's like really envies that sort of like culture on your doorstep kind of upbringing that I imagine everyone who grows up in Europe has. Where in Italy did you grow up?
I grew up in a small city that is called Rimini. It's on the east coast of Italy, more or less in the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
booth. And yeah, then also the rest of the band is nearby the same city. So I met Ricky, our drummer, at school actually, at like high
Mm-hmm.
school. And like we were in the same, like not the same school, but in the same school district because many schools were in the same area. So we had just common friends and stuff. And yeah, so I mean, it's a small town. I have to say, not that big. But it was nice. There was so scene, and still there is quite some comparing to other parts of Italy.
There was what?
A scene like movement for music and like punk or rock.
Okay, cool. I that because I was just getting ready to ask that because I have this sort of like ongoing theory that I've been refining is that small cities, or because I'm from a really rural part of the state of Maryland, about an hour and a half south of Washington D.C., like middle of nowhere, tobacco farms kind of place. And I have this idea that if you put a bunch of like teenagers in an area and don't give them anything fun to go do, or any sort of like activities that they can do with friends, that you have two options. You're basically going to get a lot of like petty crime, or you will find a local music scene will erupt. That's like the two paths that teens can take when you're from places with not a lot of things to go out and do.
Indeed, I think you nailed it in the sense that in our area there are a lot of bands and people that like playing instruments and cool people that organize stuff. There's also a big festival that they do since some years, all about punk rock. It's called Bayfest. So they had also like big acts playing there. So I think there's a lot of people interested in music, and I think that was very helpful, like growing up, to be there, because you could see a lot of bands and people playing an instrument, and that kinds of make you feel like, oh, I also want to be in a band, I also want to be part of that.
Oh, absolutely. Like when you can see people on stage playing music, and especially if you're young and you've never done it or seen it before, it's really kind of mesmerizing. Like I remember when I was growing up, we used to there were people I knew in high school who would put on shows at like the local community center, like the rec hall essentially, or like the volunteer firehouse. You could put on a show there if you wanted to. Uh, the like armory, like all these spaces that would like let you rent, give you the space and let you have an event. And it was just so cool to like see like someone who was like in my math class, and then they're on stage and they're playing like really really fast punk rock. Similar, I can imagine similar experience. Like I saw that and was like, I want to do that. I want to be that person. That looks really fun.
I completely agree. That's totally. I think it matters a lot, and now, of course, it's not as when I was like 14 or 15
Mm-hmm.
years old, in the sense that I would say the movement or the scene is getting a bit older. Like there is no new generation to replace, or at least not that many people as when I was 15 years old that play and want to play an instrument, as far as I can see.
All right, we got to get these kids some drums and guitars. I
Indeed.
this is a problem that can be fixed. So when you were like a teenager, like 13, 14, 15, how were you like finding rock and punk rock music? What were bands that you were first like discovering around that time?
Well, I think my first love was The Offspring.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, okay, this like really, I still love them a lot. I think this was the first band that I was hearing on MTV, and I was like, whoa, this is super cool. Then I would say, well, of course, like Sum 41, also a bit more like, I don't know, Good Charlotte, all these kind of bands that were like playing on rotation on MTV, basically. And then I also got into more like the rock or hard rock scene. So I don't know, AC/DC, Kiss, also more like Guns N' Roses, this kind of more rock
Uh-huh.
stuff.
No, I can totally hear that the Loyal Cheaters music for sure. Like I was listening to I think I'm going to make sure I get this song right. I was listening to the album and All Hell Broke Loose, and the riff in Spit on Me is very much like, to me, a like 80s kind of Motley Crue like glam metal kind of riff in like the best way possible. Like I sort of see those two combinations of styles in that music for sure. Lena, I could totally tell we're going to be friends because you are really speaking my language right now. Because those were like my formative years as well. I think the first time I remember watching. Well, my Offspring memory is they played Warped Tour in 2005. And that was the first Warped Tour I ever got to go and see because I was in college, had a car. I'm going to Warped Tour. I've been hearing about it for years. And the Offspring come up. They start All I Want, one of their faster, punkier songs. And it was like being in the middle of a tornado, that mosh pit. Like everybody, it was just a massive humanity. And it had rained, so everyone was muddy and like picking each other up when they fell. Like people were just landing on me from crowd surfing. I was helping people crowd surf. Dexter, like it's super hot, so Dexter sprays everybody down with a fire hose that they had acquired somehow. Cools everybody down. It was and it was a formative experience, to say the least. That's my Offspring memory, because I always put them and Green Day as like the two bands that sort of like really popularized punk rock in the mainstream. Like if Nirvana set the plate, I think the Offspring and Green Day were the two that really like launched it into the mainstream.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Also, Green Day played a big role, I would say, because they had these kind of punk songs, but on the other side were also kind of with like catchy melodies, so everybody could really like sing along with them with the song. You know what I mean? So they were very popular also because I think both bands had great songs and lyrics that you could sing, and that plays a lot, especially when you get a bit more commercial, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like at the end, everybody should like this mood if you want more people to like you.
Yeah, like you could put on Nimrod or Dookie at a party, and normal people would be like, "Oh, I enjoyed that song. Who is this band?" Whereas if you put on like Discharge or Sex Pistols, that's a bit more of that's a different party. You kind of have to know your crowd for that, the sort of like screamy side of punk, or like Black Flag, that kind of stuff. So I know exactly what you mean, which is something I try to think about when I'm writing songs, in that I want people to I want a lot of people to hear it and be like, oh, that's really, really good. Like I want to be the party starter, so to speak, in my music.
Yeah, no, I think it's very important to have like to be yourself, express yourself, and on the other side, be how to say, like able to be in front of any crowd, so that also people that maybe are not into this specific style can still kind of like your music and maybe explore it more, even maybe if they're just regular people that are there casually because, I don't know, their friend of a friend who said, oh, let's go to this concert.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And when you were growing up, so you said there were some bands around. Were people like putting on like local shows? What did that look like?
So mainly it was people of my age. There were a lot of us that were just playing in bands. So we were just, hey, I just want to do a band. Do you want to play with me? And then somebody was like usually the drummers, oh, I'm so busy. I'm already in 8 bands or stuff like that.
Right. Everybody needs a drummer. Everyone needs a drummer. Yeah.
Exactly. And they're very rare to find. Ricky, my drummer, was one of those busy drummers when we were teenagers. I've asked him several times, like, "Hey, like, I'm doing this project. Do you want to play with me?" And he always said no until I founded the Loyal Cheaters, and then he said yes. So I finally made it. I got Ricky.
So Ricky, you've known for a while, and it took until the Loyal Cheaters for him to be in a band, for you guys to be in a band together.
Like a proper band, yes. Like maybe before we're just trying together some stuff with other people, but it never became an actual band, and so we never did shows together. And but to go back to your previous question, um, I think there were more clubs and more areas for shows, so it was easier also to perform for teenage bands, if you know what I mean. Like people were giving opportunities also for younger bands to play and perform. And now I think we are only left with clubs that are a bit more selective because it's always them, so they receive a lot of requests from a lot of bands, and they're just taking like bands that already have a kind of, call it, name, or at least are a bit known in the underground scene. So it's more difficult for new bands to get opportunities. This is what I see, at least in our area.
Right, because I would imagine from a venue side, their concern is that they can have people in their space every night, so that they can make money, which I am understanding of that, and this is a constant source of frustration with me too. The amount of time I spent thinking, okay, what Instagram post is going to get more people to listen to our song, or check out our next single, like all of these kinds of all this stuff that you now have to think about that a few years you didn't, which is, I find it exciting on one side, and also like a lot work on the other side too, depending on the day.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I agree, and you never know if it's gonna pay off, because at the end you're just doing an Instagram post. And back then you were just friends were gonna ask you, "Hey, I'm having a show. Do you want to come and play and maybe be the support band because maybe you're a new band?" And that's how people were knowing new music. Now it's all a bit plastic, I have to say. Like it's more difficult to get new music just through like live experience.
I know, it's almost like there's there's almost like a baseline level of work that you have to put in, basically in your bedroom or in the practice space, until you can even get to those first couple of shows. Like it definitely still happens, but I feel I agree with you on why it feels like there's more barriers, and certainly at like traditional clubs, like you have to be a little bit more creative in terms of like seeking out like cool people, like I'll say again, the folks that Knuckle Down, or some of the other folks that you I'm sure you're working with on this tour.
Yeah, I mean it's a you always have to have a good presentation, you know. So you have to have a good Instagram page. I think, okay, good songs is like the basic, and then you have to how to perform and be very good in social media marketing, because at the end everything is in there now. So you have to have good pictures, good videos, good post, as you said. Even the caption, you have to think about it, and you have to be active and post a lot. Otherwise the algorithm is not giving much visibility to your page. It's like it's a side job, like it takes a lot of time.
Absolutely. But I must say, Loyal Cheaters are doing a very good job, because I was checking out the band obviously before we chatted, and I love the sort of I love the sort of like sort of like classic 80s almost kind of vibe that you have, like the photos of you with like the leather jackets and the like goggles, to me is like very like Sunset Strip cool rock and roll band. And then the logo even reminds me of like The Exorcist, like a fun or like some sort of like kind of grindhouse kind of font. So there's a very like there's a very like rock and roll sort of like aesthetic that I think you guys are really pulling off.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I would say a lie saying that we didn't spend hours on, thinking how we do the
Sure.
logo, how we do the pictures, and then you do, I don't know, 150 pictures, and then you select only one, and yeah, it's quite some work, but I have to say we just try to be ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because I think I don't want to copy anybody. I think there's a lot of bands out there that are great and have their kind of sound and aesthetic, and they work. And I don't want to be a copycat. So I just want us to be ourselves. So as you said before, in our music, you can hear a lot of influences as well. So we are not what you would say like a typical punk rock band,
Yeah,
but we try to mix what we like, and at the end, I think the first persons that have to be happy about the music is ourselves.
totally.
So we just try to be authentic.
That's the key word is authenticity. That's the most after baseline good songs. I think authenticity is really the most important thing, because I've always thought like if you have to be something radical, a persona radically different from who you are, that's just like having a job. That's like just having a job. And I don't play music for to have a job necessarily. I play it because it brings me. It's got to bring me joy. Number one. So I absolutely think you are uh, excelling in being yourself. Like you strike me as somebody who's like very passionate and enthusiastic about what they do, and I really resonate with that, Lena.
Thanks, and I agree with you on the job. I'm not willing to do something that I don't like just because maybe it's what is popular now. So okay, now this is popular, and we're gonna play this kind of music. No, for me, it doesn't work like that. So of course, you have to see like okay. Uh, like what are the new bands now, and what is the sound, and maybe how they do some kind of mixing or mastering when you produce a song and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. But this is more about yeah the way you technically mix the songs, but not how you write them, if you know what I mean.
I do, like in terms of like the production of like when you go in and record songs in a recording studio, you can make choices that will make a rock song sound like it came from like a certain era compared to if it came from a more modern era. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, indeed. This is what I was mentioning. So I think the selection and like of instruments and production that you do for a song can change a lot compared to just the songwriting
Mm-hmm.
itself.
Well, I'd love to talk a little bit more about this because I love like getting into the weeds in terms of songwriting. So, do you play? Are you just a vocalist, or do you play instruments as well?
No, I also play the guitar in the
Oh, you play
band.
guitar in the band as well. Okay, so you sing and play guitar as well. So when it and I imagine that there's not one specific way that the Loyal Cheaters write songs, but let me just ask about what gets your creative juices going in terms of songwriting inspiration. Does it usually come from a piece of music or a riff that you work on, or do lyrics sometimes inspire the tone of the music?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the song. So first of all, we are all songwriters.
Mm-hmm.
So all the songs that are, for instance, in the last album, and All Hell Broke Loose, they are a mix of our songs that we then arranged and produced together. So there isn't just one songwriter in there. Um, but I would say depends. Sometimes you just start with the lyrics, and then you think, oh, maybe they can go like this. No, 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 no. Or sometimes you just start with, yeah, the music. Maybe you have a riff in mind, and you just start with that, and you try to sing on that riff and see where it goes. So, yeah, I don't have a systematic approach, let's say. I just go, and when you have the inspiration, of course, it's not every day.
Oh, totally. Well, maybe you could tell me about a particular song. So, like, maybe do you recall like how the single "Crazy" you say came together?
uh that was written by the
Oh,
drummer, by
really?
Ricky.
The guy you
Yeah,
chased for all the
but
to be in the band.
exactly,
Amazing.
exactly, that's him. um well, he came to the rehearsal room to us, and he said, "Oh, I have this idea in mind." So he came with the progression of chords, and with like melody for the voice. So he said, I would like to sing it like that," and then he was singing it to me like something like 2 tones up than the version that we recorded, and then I'm like, Ricky, I'm sorry, I don't go that high with the voice. We need to lower it a
Uh-huh.
bit. So we changed the tune of the song, and then I wrote the lyrics on that song based on his melody.
Gotcha. And lyrically, kind of where were you like mentally when you were working on those lyrics? Where did the do you recall like where you were when those words came to you?
Yeah, so Ricky told me, "Oh, I want this song to talk about a great party." And then I said, "Yeah, but that's, I don't know, that's too simple. Like, there are a lot of songs about
Mm-hmm.
parties." And so I said, "I want to talk about somebody that is at a party and is a kind of a crazy person and is not understood in the party.
Uh-huh.
And he always wants to party because he has some unresolved issues. And so he just goes out to forget about his problems, you
Yeah.
know?" And I was thinking about a common friend when I wrote that, because we have a friend that, yeah, it's more like that. So I was thinking about him and how he could feel while he was partying, basically.
Gotcha. I know I understand that mindset. The sort of like if I just keep going, then I can't feel sad. Kind of
Exactly,
rush.
exactly. That's the
Uh-huh.
bottom line.
No, totally. I've known that type as well. And then I feel like that type you eventually if things don't get fixed, that's how you end up in the bar at the at an advanced stage on like a Tuesday, like, oh, I got a story I can tell you.
Indeed.
Another song that really that I thought was a really catchy, fun one was Baby Boomer. Who wrote that one?
That's mine.
That's yours.
So I can answer all the questions on this one.
Awesome. So I'd love to ask. So like the course is like I wanna be a baby boomer, and I'm curious like how what that came from, because I feel like there's a lot of like intergenerational sort of like finger pointing nowadays in 2024. Everyone likes to like rag on boomers for being old out of touch, Gen Z for all of their like intricacies, and millennials are like just constantly anxious. Where did the idea for this come from lyrically?
I was reading a book, it's called Boomsday, and yeah, and then I got a bit inspired to write this song criticizing where, in my opinion, that generation um, is on like, of course, on a general level, because you can never like talk about single individuals. You just talk about a
Right.
generation. Every person is different, and I was thinking that some of the things that or the behavior that I have, or the way of thinking that I have annoys me a lot. But then I thought, what if I write this song as if I am the baby boomer saying all these things that I
Mm-hmm.
am? So I impersonated into a typical baby boomer,
Right.
basically.
You like take that on as like a character, and then almost like you're in a
Exactly,
play, and then you
exactly.
write from that perspective.
Exactly. But then this person is speaking without realizing that what he's saying is like inappropriate in 2024. So that was the point, to make a critique, but making it coming from the boomer itself, himself or herself. Yeah.
Gotcha. Does this kind of like intergenerational sort of squabbling occur in like in your circles, like either in Germany or Italy? Like, are there are there like Italian boomers? They're like, back in my day, you buy a house for a nickel and a smile.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the problem, because we live in different times, and those people don't understand that when they were younger, everything was easier. And now I think we're much more struggling to survive day by day. And we just receive like critics, or yeah, just saying I was better than you. And yeah, I think that is a topic that I really care about. Maybe not everybody is really into these intergenerational like problems, but I think that we are at a stage where it's more, it's becoming kind of political somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel the fights should not be even anymore between left and right, but between young and old people. But okay, this may be a bit too radical to say.
I don't. I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking through it because it kind of goes back to a similar point of like, obviously there's everyone is an individual and not everybody can conform to like the generational sort of like, this is what this generation is like, so this is what they're all like. Something else. I'm trying to. I don't remember exactly where I heard this quote originally. Um, but it's something I repeat a lot when I talk about stuff like this. In that it's like it's not how old you are, it's how you're old. In terms of like maybe like getting things changed, or like your approach and feelings about art and stuff like that, because I'm like late 30s, and yes, I still love all the like early 2000s pop punk that I grew up listening to, but I'm trying not to close myself off to these like TikTok rappers and kids that are think Machine Gun Kelly is super cool, because I'm like, okay, if they can get in the door through that, then they can go find all this other like really cool stuff that's also great. And then I don't become like a 50 or 60-year-old like just talking about how great jazz was, because I feel like certain, if you get too like exclusionary, then that's when you become like old and irrelevant, and then like suddenly you're like, back in my day, and you're like, okay, let's get you to bed, grandpa. So that's my way of trying to I'm trying not to shut my ears to what the generations coming after me are doing.
And I think that's the best approach. And I see people that are maybe even 50, 60, 70 even, and they're like listening to new music, and they appreciate it. But not only music, I'm thinking about all the new technology that we have, that you have to stay up to date with everything and be able to use them. And a lot of people just try to know more still, and to be curious. I think be curious is yeah, what you have to be in life to not be old. Be
I
curious.
agree 100%. That's beautifully phrased. That's something I aspire to, and applies in music. It applies in music, I think, outside of just like songwriting, because I'm thinking, as a guitarist, I didn't know until a few years ago that you don't really need an amp anymore. You could get a piece of software and a laptop and play a show if you really needed to. Like that that made my mind explode. The fact that you can make amps with computers are amps now, or amps are in tiny boxes that connect to your phone. I was like, whoa.
No, yeah, that's incredible indeed. And who knows what technology will bring us in few years. We just have to live long enough to see it,
Yeah,
you know.
that's I know exactly what you mean. Like I'm trying to hang on as long as I can just so I can see like where it all goes. Like I'm sure like they have a few guitars with effects built into them now. I'm wouldn't be too surprised if we can eventually get everything built into the instrument itself.
That would be great. So less stuff to carry around, you know.
I would love to ask you this because I'm sure this maybe they can relate to this. I remember thinking when I was in bands in high school, college, like, okay, in order to look like a serious musician on stage, I need to have a 4x12 guitar and a big guitar head, and it needs to be really loud. And after a couple times loading that into my car, I was like, this sucks. do I need this to look cool on stage? Maybe I can look cool some other way.
I completely agree. I never had a 4 times 12 cabinet in my life, and I don't want to have it because unless I'm super famous that somebody's gonna carry out for me, then it's fine. But if I have to do it, no way. It just need a smaller cabinet, and at the end, as of today, they also build like some cool amps that are not that big that you can actually carry around without, being tired even before the show just for all the gear that you're carrying around.
Totally. And like I play bass in the band, and so I'm even to point like, do I even need to? Can I just plug like if I can plug directly into like a PA, I'll do that because I have a little DI box that makes the bass that's most of the bass tone when I play live. So I try to get everything from there. It's like what's the least amount of stuff I can use and still make this work. That's where my head is at nowadays.
And that's the smartest way. Then for drummers, it's always gonna be a pain. But hey, we didn't choose to play drums, so
exactly. I'm actually that actually makes me kind of wonder like is your drummer bringing a kit across the pond, or is he trying to find a kit here? Because I'm hoping it's the second one.
No, yeah, it's the second one
Okay,
indeed.
good. I always think about that because I would always see tour videos of like bands with like all their stuff like taped together. I'm just like, you got to have a friend in whatever city to like just use that, get stuff there. That's what I always think about. Again, as an older guy, have the Loyal Cheaters done like a lot of touring, like in Italy or surrounding countries?
Yeah, we played, I would say, all over Italy, even Sardinia, that is an island close to
Mm-hmm.
Italy. Then we did a small tour in Switzerland and Germany last year. And yeah, I mean, there's still me traveling, so I can't always be there. And so we try always to have gigs all in a row in certain periods of the year or like in certain weeks where I know that I'm gonna be in Italy if we play in Italy. And all the gear is also based there. So when we went to Germany and Switzerland, we had a van, and a friend of us was coming and driving, and we brought everything with us, like the drum kit and the amps and everything. So it was fun.
Oh, that sounds really fun. And there's an appetite for punk rock in places like Switzerland. There's punks everywhere.
We played in Zurich. That is the I think is the capital. I hope to not say something wrong, but it's one of the biggest city. And we played there with a punk rock band. They are from Zurich. It's called PNB, and I think they were very cool, and there were quite some people for being a Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's quite some scene there indeed.
Interesting. That kind of makes sense to me because Zurich is, I think, known as this like kind of like global financial center, and I feel like that's something that punks can be really rallying against nowadays, like our financial institutions. I could see that. That's really cool. I love hearing that this scene, even in different places, even if it like goes through wanes and falls, that there's still folks of across the age ranges that want to hear this music and like run around in circles and stuff.
Yeah, and also in Germany, there's quite a good community, I have to say, and uh, it's here. I think people care even more. I see that there is a lot of more of events, and especially like organizers and people that care a lot about having shows and having bands, especially traveling bands. Maybe they're also more used to because they are in kind of the middle of Europe, while Italy is kind of in the south, and not many touring band go there because it's not logistically convenient if you think
Right.
about it.
That's awesome. And speaking of German bands, have you ever heard of or played with a band called the Do Nots? Do you know them?
No, we didn't play together.
They're a fun band. I feel like you would fit on a bill with them really really well because they are kind of similar of mind and spirit, I think.
Okay, cool. I'll check them out. I don't know them, but thanks for the
Oh yeah,
hint.
I'll send you an album of theirs. I like their stuff quite a bit. And this is going to be your first tour in the United States. This upcoming tour.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, you can imagine that it's not that close, so we can't like travel so easily every few months. So for now, we're doing 12 gigs in the East Coast area. So the first one is in Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta. Um, then we have some gigs in Florida where we're gonna be at the fest as well, and then all the way north up to New York.
And we're really looking forward to playing with your band because I enjoyed this album quite a bit. One last thing I'd love to ask you. It so it seems like Fest, like we were talking earlier, Fest is the cornerstone of this tour and kind of that starting that surrounding area. How did the Fest in show happen?
Still thanks to the drummer because Ricky, he played there. I think it was almost 7 years ago with his other band called Honey. They do more kind of punk rock, like more classic punk rock stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how they ended up there, but they played there 7 years ago. And then we just yeah, we just reached out and asked if they were interested in having the Loyal Cheaters and for the next edition, and they said yes. So then from there we built the tour
Very
basically.
cool. Like, yeah, that I think that's a really smart way of doing it because you have this like cornerstone, like big show, and then you can sort of build around it. And then again, because there's cool people in all these cities, it can happen like that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I have to say, a lot of people that helped us are super nice. So we are very happy, like to have found people willing to help us coming from abroad and like underground band, you know. So we're very happy to come there and meet you all.
Well, we're really really looking forward to that. I promise to give your band a proper New York City welcome at the Shillelagh Tavern show. We're really looking forward to it. And if people are curious, where can they go to find out more info about the Loyal Cheaters?
I would say we talked about it later. We have a well curated Instagram account, and and then we are basically everywhere: Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Bandcamp. Mm, yeah, I think that's it. Those are the main areas where they can find our music and see where we're playing.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to plug all of this in the description, and I will make sure, and if at all possible, if you could have a shirt my size for the New York show, I'd gladly get one when we play together. So.
Absolutely. We'll keep one just in case we run out.
Excellent. Lena, this has been really, really nice. Thank you again for doing the show, and can't wait to meet you officially in the city when we play together.
Yeah, we're looking forward, and thanks a lot for the opportunity to have this conversation together.
Of course. All right, everybody. That is Lena from the Loyal Cheaters. Really cool lady. I can't wait to play a show with her band again. The Loyal Cheaters are on tour right now. You can catch them at the Fest in Gainesville, Florida on October 27th. Check out their Instagram at the Loyal Cheaters for their current tour dates. And make sure if you are in Astoria, Queens on November 2nd, come party with us and sing some punk rock songs and meet some cool people. November 2nd in Astoria, New York at the Shillelagh Tavern. And you can get excited for that show by listening to the Loyal Cheaters' newest album, And All Hell Broke Loose, which is available now everywhere you stream your music. So go listen to that now. And look forward to some new Skip Lag music in the very near future as well. On November 1st, we're going to be releasing a new single right before the show, so you can get excited about that. And in addition to more things related to me, my seasonal Christmas podcast, the Hallmark After Show, with my wife Chelsea, is returning soon. So you can subscribe to that on Apple or Spotify and hear us recap and pontificate on the social implications of the newest Hallmark original Christmas movies. And if you enjoyed this podcast and think you know a friend who would be interested in listening to it as well, you can send them to awesomedisaster.com. That is links to everything related to me. You can follow me on Instagram at willcarry23, and you can follow Skiplag NYC as well. If you want to go a little bit further in support of me, we also have a Patreon and a merch store at awesomedisaster.com as well. I hope you folks continue to be well coming into the holiday season with Halloween and very soon Thanksgiving and Christmas approaching, as well as Hanukkah. So I hope you folks continue to be excellent to each other. And if you are struggling with a persistent cough like I have been, I hope that you find some relief from that as well. But thank you all again so much for being here, and I will see you next time between Awesome and Disaster. Get registered to vote, everybody. We're not going back.